Bava Metziah Daf Nun Tes. We're going to begin on Ches Amud Beis, the last line. Amar Rabbi Baruch Hanan Rabbi Yechman. It's preferable for a person to engage in bia with a woman whose married status is uncertain, and do not humiliate another person in public. We know one. From where do we derive this? Mid the Dorish Rava. Rava interpreted it. Dorish Rava said, "My difsibu with Sali Samchu v'Nasafu Kardu v'Leidamo." What is the meaning that says, "When I limped, they rejoiced and gathered; they tore, did not cease"? The term "damo" can be understood as reference to blood, concerning the fasting he undertook to atone for the sin with Bathsheba. David said to the Eibishter, Master of the universe, it's revealed and known before you that if my tormentors were to tear my flesh, my blood will not flow to the ground due to excessive fasting. Not only that, they torment me to the extent that even at the time when they are engaged in the halachas of Niggoyim and Ayolus, in other words, halachic matters that have no connection to my sin, they say to me, David Abbal, David, who engaged in relations with a married woman, his death is effected with what form of execution? But Abraham, and I said to them, one who engages with a married woman with witnesses and with a forewarning and gets strangulation, but he still has a person who humiliates another person has no share in the world to come. So David Melech is saying is that the Aveda of you who humiliate me is more severe than my transgression. It's more comfortable for a person to throw himself in a fiery furnace than to humiliate another person in public. It's written about Yehuda bringing her forth and let her be burned. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, I'm pregnant by a man to whom these belong. And she didn't embarrass Yehuda. What does it mean? You shall not mistreat each man, his colleague. With one who was with you and observance of Torah mitzvahs. You should not mistreat him. Person must always be careful about mistreating his treatment of his wife. Since her tear is easily elicited, punishment of her mistreatment is immediate. Since the day that Beis Mikdash was destroyed, the gates of davening are locked, and davening is not accepted as it once was. It says, though I plead and call out, to shut down my davening. And even though the Sharet Tefillah is locked, the Sharet Nemoy is lit in Alu. Even though the gates of davening were locked, with the disruption of the Beis Mikdash, the gates of tears were not locked. Hear my davening, Hashem, and give ear to my pleading, keep my silence and my tears. Keep not my silence and my tears. Rav says, anyone who follows the counsel of his wife goes to Ganem. It says, but there was no one like Achav who did give himself over to do what was evil in the sight of Hashem, which was incited by his wife. Don't people say the popular saying, it's a good sach? If your wife is short, stoop and whisper to her to consult with her. So it's a good thing to consult with the wife. The kasha, this is not a question. This the Rabbi instructed not to follow the counsels in general matters. This that the Navi says to follow our counsels in household matters. Another version of this is don't follow when it comes to divine matters. In general matters you could. The Chizda says, all the gates of heaven are locked except for the gates of davening for victims of verbal mistreatment. And behold, the Lord stood upon a wall filled with a plump line and a plump line in his hands. Hashem stands with the scales of justice in his hand to determine if one has been subjected to injustice. Hashem punishes the perpetrator by means of an shliach, except for mistreatment. As it says, and a plump leg in the hands. The term of mistreatment and the term of plump line are spelled in a similar manner, indicating that Hashem himself afflicts retribution. Rav says, there are three sins before when averes the curtains between the world and Hashem is not locked. In other words, their sins reached the Shekhinah, the Eibishter. This is verbal mistreatment, robbery, and avodah zarah. Robbery, it says, violence and robbery. When it comes to mistreatment, it says in a plumb line in his hand. Gozel, robbery, violence and robbery are heard in here. They are before me continually. In regards to avodah zarah, it says, and people that anger me before me continually. The carbon in gardens and burn incense upon bricks. Rabbi Yoda. Person has to be very careful to make sure that there's always grain inside his house, as fights is found in a person's house only over matters of grain. As it says, the Oda Melech says, he makes your borders peace, he gives you plenty with the fine wheat. In other words, if there's the finest wheat in your house, there's going to be shalom. Or a papa, this is what papa says, this is what people say, when the barley is emptied from the jug, coral knocks and enters the house. Person always has to be careful about ensuring that there's grain inside his house, because the Jewish people were characterized as poor only over matters of grain. Then, like it says, and it was of Israel's sowed. And it's written, and they encamped against them. It says, and Israel was greatly impoverished to Midian. Says, person must always be careful about sustaining the honor of his wife. As blessing is found in a person's house only because of his wife. Like it says, and he dealt well with Avram for her sake. Is what Rava said to the residents of Achayza, honor your wives, so that you will become rich. We learned in a Mishnah in Kalim, if one cut an earthenware open widthwise into segments, and place sand between each and every segment, Lazar makes his tar because of the sand. Its legal status is not that of complete keli, and therefore this keli is not mofshel kabel tuma. And the Chachamim say it's Tomei. It's functionally a complete oven. This is the oven of achnai. What am I achnai? What is achnai? A snake. It's characterized the fact that the Chacham surrounded it with their stamen like the snake, which often forms a coil on at rest, and made it tummy. Tana was taught. On that day, Rabbi Elazar answered all the possible answers in the world to support his opinion. The Chacham did not accept his explanation from him. Amar lahem, Rabbi Elazar said to them, Im halacha kamesi, the halacha is like me, charav zayichiach. This carib will prove it. Nekar charav mumkei mea amma. The carib tree was uprooted from this place 100 amas. Amri law, and some say it was arba meis amma, 400 amas. So Amrullah, the Chacham said to him, you cannot bring a raya from a carib tree. Elazar said to them, the halacha is like me, but the stream will prove it. The water stream turned backwards and began flowing in the opposite direction. They said you cannot bring a raya from the stream. So then Elazar said, if the halacha is like me, then the walls of the Beis Medrash will prove it. He took Beis Medrash, so the walls of the Beis Medrash leaned inwards and began to fall. Garban Yeshua scolded the walls and said, if Talmidei Chacham are contending with each other in halacha, what is the nature of your involvement in the machlekes? Like Naflum with Pnei Kodesh and Yeshua. Where it says the walls did not fall because of the covet due to the Yeshua. And it did not straighten because of the furs due to the Blazer, and they still remain leaning. So then Rabbi said to them, heaven will prove it. So the Baskel said, why are you arguing with Rabbi Elazar as the halacha is in accordance with him in every place that he expresses his opinion? So Bishua stood on his feet and said, Teda said, Teda is not in heaven. What does it mean, not in the heaven? Or Since the Teda was already given at Har Sinai, in Anu Mashkicha Mavaska, we do not regard a divine voice. You've already established by Har Sinai, the Teda says, after the majority to incline. Since the majority of the Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Elazar's opinion, Allah is not ruled in accordance with his opinion. Ashkechir Ibn Nosen met Eliyahu Novi. He asked him, what is Hashem doing at this time? When Yeshua issued his declaration, so Eliyahu told him, Hashem smiled and said, my children have one over me, my children have one over me. The Chacham will run all the taris that Rabbi Elazar made tar and burnt them in fire. And the Chacham reached a consensus with regard, and Amru so they put him in the Chedim. The Chacham said, who will go and inform him that he's in Chedim? Akiva said, Ani Elech, I will go. So Akiva said to them, I will go. Maybe they're going to get a person who's not fit to inform him. It's a matter of called him Kolel, and he'll thereby destroy the entire world. What did Rabbi Akiva do? He wore black and wrapped himself in black. It's an expression of mourning and pain. And he sat before Rabbi Elazar at a distance of 4 amas. So Rabbi Elazar said to Akiva, what is different from today or from other days? In other words, why are you sitting in the morning? Says, my teacher, it appears to me that your colleagues are distancing themselves from you. Afu Kar B'Gada B'Chalas B'Nolo. So he too, Rabbi Elazar too, rent and tore his garments and removed his shoe. And he dropped from the seat and sat on the ground. His eyes were crying. As a result, the entire world was afflicted. 1/3 of his olives were afflicted, 1/3 of its wheat, and 1/3 of its barley. Even the dough needed in the woman's hands spoiled. Tana was tat. There were great anger on that day. Any place where Rabbi Elazar fixed his eyes, and this circle was burnt. And Rabbi Gamliel, the head of the Chachamim, were responsible. The decision to make Rabbi Elazar and Chenim was coming on a boat at that time. Almad Olav Nashel Letavi. A large wave swelled over him and threatened to drown him. So when he said, it seems to me that this is only for the sake of Rabbi Elazar ben Hyrcanus, so Hashem punishes those who mistreat others. So he says, I didn't do this for my honor, my father's honor, I did this for your honor, so that machlekes will not proliferate in Klal Yisrael. So the sea calmed from his raging. The Gemara says, Ima Shalem, the base of Rabbi Elazar, the wife of Rabbi Elazar, Achos of Rabbi Gamliel was the sister of Rabbi Gamliel. Mahu Ma'aseh ve'elech le'v'shafka le'Rabbi Elazar le'meipo ha'ape. The incident forward, she would not allow Rabbi Elazar to lower his head to recite Tachel and davening, which includes supplication and entreaties. She feared that were her husband to bemoan his faith and daven at that moment, her brother would be punished. A certain day was around that day of the new moon, and she inadvertently substituted a full 30-day month for the official 29-day month. She thought that it was the new moon, when one does not lower his head in Tachan. Some say that a Ani came and stood out at the door and she took bread from him. The result was that she left her husband momentarily unsupervised. She found him and saw that he had lowered his head in Tachan. Amalei, kum katle loch. She said to him, arise, you already killed my brother. Meanwhile, the sound of the strafer emerged from the house of Gamliel to announce that the Nasi had died. Rabbi said, from where did you know that your brother would die? I received all the gates of heaven are locked except the gates of a person being verbally mistreated. One who verbally mistreats the convert violates 3 prohibitions. One who oppresses him another way violates 2. What difference with regards to verbal mistreatment? The 3 lavin are written. You shall neither mistreat a convert. When a convert lies in your land, you should not mistreat him. You should not mistreat each man his friend. The convert is included in this category. For what reason did the Torah issue warning in 36 places? Some people say 46 places. Beger, with regards to the distress of a convert, they should say it as due to the fact that the ger inclination is evil, is prompt to return to his previous ways of living. What does it say? You shall not mistreat a convert nor oppress because we were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. Unless instead of a defect that is in you, do not mention it to others. Since the Yidden were all themselves strangers, they're not in a position to start making fun of Gainim because he is a stranger in their midst. This is what the famous saying says. One who has a person hanged in his family does not say to other members of his household, hang a fish for me. As the mention of hanging is the meaning to that family.